Be clear, there is going to be a mass deportation because we just finished a mass illegal immigration crisis on the border. It's a felony to knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien to immigration authorities. Don't test us.
President-elect Donald Trump's new border czar, Tom Homan, laying out his day one plans for the new administration. Homan traveled to Texas on Tuesday, meeting with Governor Greg Abbott and delivering a message to Texas National Guard members. Texas government leaders are moving to get more aggressive on immigration. In recent days, they have ordered more barrier buoys onto the Rio Grande River, like the ones seen last year. The Biden administration had sued to get those barriers removed. Not every local leader is signing up for the promises of cracking down on migrants. Denver's mayor says his city would resist extreme measures, drawing the ire of Tom Homan this week.
If they want to focus on violent criminals, we would be happy to help support pursuing, arresting, and deporting them. So if they are going to send the U.S. Army or the Navy SEALs into Denver to pursue folks to pull them off the job at hotels or restaurants where they're working or pull kids off the soccer field, I think we will see Denverites and folks around the country who will nonviolently resist that.
Me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail.
Oof.
All right, guys, so once again, we got to talk about the mass deportations that are supposed to happen under the Trump administration. And Democrats are pushing back heavily. Woke Democrats, governors, mayors, etc. They're pushing back heavily. They're saying, no, we can't have mass deportations. You guys cannot take away our cheap labor again, okay? The Democrats are hell-bent on trying to prevent history from repeating itself, because the last time that Republicans took away the cheap labor of the Democrats, we fought a war, okay? It's called the Civil War, okay? We fought a whole war because Democrats refused to pick their own cotton, okay? So with that being said, the debate now is about the criminals, right? As of right now, the first stage of the mass deportation operation is to get rid of the criminals, okay? New York City, for example, is home to over 58,000 criminal migrants, including more than 1,000 gang members, according to ICE. Let's read this. There are over 58,000 illegal migrants who are convicted felons or facing criminal charges roaming New York City, and close to 670,000 across the country, startling new data obtained by the Post shows. Of the 759,218 illegal border crossers living in the Big Apple, the feds were aware of, as of November 17th, a jaw-dropping 58,626, 7.7%, were either previously convicted of crimes or had criminal charges pending, according to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency data. And of the 58,626 migrants with rap sheets, 1,053, nearly 2%, are suspected or known gang members, according to the agency. Quote, these numbers make it clear what everyone but our elected officials already know. Sanctuary city laws are endangering New Yorkers by shielding criminals instead of protecting law-abiding citizens, said Councilman Robert Holden, a moderate Queens Democrat. Nationwide, the numbers are just as galling. Yeah, so with that being said, this is a damning indictment on the consequences of sanctuary city policies, because quite literally the whole point of a sanctuary city is to protect criminals. And Democrats know that this is a losing issue, as they're currently playing a political game of chess with the Trump administration and border czar Tom Homan, who has essentially promised mass deportations. Now, again, it's starting with the criminals first, and Democrats know that this is a losing issue for them, because them coming out and pushing back against deporting criminals is probably not a good look, especially considering how the American people voted for mass deportations, which is probably why you have woke Democrat Governor Kathy Hochul of New York coming out and basically folding on pushing back against mass deportations of criminals, again, which would kind of defeat the purpose of sanctuary cities, because the whole point of sanctuary cities is to protect criminals, okay, illegal immigrants who have committed crimes and not cooperating with the federal government in regards to helping them be deported, right? But she's now saying, well, we'll probably cooperate with Tom Homan and Trump to mass deportate the criminals. At least this is what she's saying publicly. Take a look.
Our immigration system is woefully broken. It's been broken for decades. There was an opportunity to make meaningful change that the Republicans in the House of Representatives killed, and they should be held accountable for that. But we need to fix the border, fix the system. But I'll tell you this, those who come here legally, we want to get them jobs. I have 460,000 open jobs in the state of New York. I want them to get the proper work permits. I want them to keep their temporary protective status, if that's what they have. I want to make sure that they're part of contributing to society while they're here. That's separate from people who are criminals. Someone breaks the law, I'll be the first one to call up ICE and say, get them out of here. So there is a difference in categories of individuals. And so I just had a meeting this morning with my team that's been studying all the scenarios that could play out over the next few months and what we need to do to prepare. We'll be announcing more about that. And also making sure that our final requests to the Biden administration are secure. And so that's something else, again, I'll do a report on what we've achieved in the next couple of weeks.
So just to be clear, are you supportive or not supportive of deporting undocumented immigrants whose only crime is either crossing the border or overstaying?
If they're here with legal papers, like they came and they're seeking asylum, like the 224,000 people came to New York, they're here legally in search of asylum. And that process will play out. But there are other people who commit crimes or are known to be criminals before they arrived here. When those are identified, I'll be the first one to help get rid of them. I don't want them here. I don't want anybody terrorizing my citizens. So that's the difference.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if Kathy Hochul is actually serious about deporting illegal immigrants who are criminals because, I mean, technically, all of them have committed crimes because they've come into the country illegally, right, which is a crime. I know Democrats don't think that's a crime, but that actually is a crime. But if you listen to what she said the quiet part out loud about what I told you guys Democrats actually really want. What they really, really, really want is for the Biden administration, before Trump comes in, to grant basically work permits to the migrants to allow them to work and to also continue to give them federal funds, okay? Because Biden basically told a lot of these governors and these mayors, look, hold off on all the complaining, okay, about illegal immigration in the border until after the election. And then at that point, they would go back to business as usual, which is to allow illegals into the country and to grant work authorization permits and more federal funding to these sanctuary cities. But Biden couldn't do that before the election because it would be a political loser, okay? It would go directly against the Democrats coming out and pretending as if they want to be tough on the border, which is what Kamala Harris did, if they were also, again, supporting these cities with federal funds and continuing to grant work authorization permits, which is something that Biden has done throughout his presidency, okay? So now you see Kathy Hochul coming out and saying, no, we need that, right? We need these things that you promised us, that you said that, hey, listen, if we shut up about the problem, then you would do after the election, right? So that's what they really want before Trump comes into office, okay? So with that being said, you do have some local law enforcement that has come out and said, yeah, we are looking forward to working with the Trump administration to conduct mass deportations, even going as far as to conduct raids of workplaces that employ illegal immigrants and to enforce the law. Take a look.
We could actually go to the workplace and enforce immigration laws. We had it once before, but this president took it all away from all the sheriffs across the country. We housed prisoners here. There's two 287Gs, one to hold prisoners, one to go out and enforce immigration laws. We were trained, we had the certification, and President Biden's administration took it all away from us. We're going to get that back. We've been in contact with ICE. So it gives us the authority to go out into the community, to go to the workplace, enforce these laws, and help the federal government do their job. And we're happy. We're getting geared up. We're making jail space available. And one thing I know about illegal immigration, I've been doing this 20 years, is when you start going out and enforcing and apprehending people that are here illegally and enforcing the laws where people work in these factories illegally, we've got citizens. I had a lady that came to me and was given information where these places are all over the United States. Sheriffs, there's 3,300 sheriffs in the United States, each county. It's easier to deal with one local law enforcement in each county as it is thousands and thousands of police departments.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. I am hoping that a lot of the local law enforcement officials, low key, I hope they do work with the federal government. I hope that they stand up for the Constitution, they stand up for the rule of law and say, you know what, screw these Democrat mayors, screw these Democrat governors, we're going to do our jobs, right? Because at this point, you definitely are going to need cooperation from local law enforcement in order to get the job done the way that it should be done. And you already see, again, Democrats folding a little bit, right? Again, Kathy Hochul saying, well, yeah, I'll work with the federal government to deport the criminals. But up until this point, New York has done a terrible job at doing that for multiple reasons, because they have soft on crime laws where the illegals are allowed to just commit crimes and then they get released back into the street. They don't get deported because of the sanctuary city laws that prevent local law enforcement from actually working with ICE to deport the illegal immigrant criminals. So it's really a death spiral, right, that's happening in states like New York that harbor these illegal immigrants. And it's a big problem, right? It's a huge problem that is a political loser for Democrats, okay? And Tom Homan, he is not backing down, right? He is coming out and still saying that, listen, mass deportations are going to happen. And if you stand in the way as a Democrat mayor, then you're going to face consequences, right? At the end of the day, we're not playing around with this operation. And again, they're going to start with the criminals. That's what the real conversation is about right now. And Tom Homan is doubling and tripling down on doing what they got to do. So let's get into it.
That the Mexican president and the president-elect shared. Tom, do you have any insight into the conversations? Because now you've got a situation where you're combating this, but also he's threatening tariffs. It could make it easier, harder, more complicated.
No, look, President Trump proved during the first administration that he's going to hold Mexico accountable. It's against the law in Mexico to traffic in women and children, but they allowed it. It's against the law in Mexico for someone to transit through that country if they're not a citizen in that country, but they allow it. So in Trump's first administration, he had Mexico put military on the southern northern border. He had them participate in the Remain in Mexico program. They didn't want to do it, but President Trump threatened them with tariffs. And look, this is about the safety and security of the United States. We've had a massive, historic illegal immigration the last 4 years. And it's one of the biggest national security threats this country's ever seen. We got over 2 million gotaways. We got a record number of people on terrorist watch lists that were arrested. How many of the 2 million came from a country that sponsored terror? If you think it's zero, then you're not paying attention to the facts. So President Trump's doing what he can to protect this country and protect our national security. He's doing the right thing.
Yeah, so he brought up the tariffs, okay, that Trump has threatened Mexico with if they continue to allow illegals into the country. Now, again, a lot of people don't really understand what Trump is doing with the whole tariff stuff because they don't really understand negotiations. They don't understand business. They don't understand power, okay? What Trump is basically doing is that he is getting Mexico and Canada as well, too, to come to the negotiation table when it comes to, hey, you guys need to do your part, right? A part of helping with the illegal immigration problem is for our neighboring countries to actually enforce border laws, right? To actually do their jobs. Now, Mexico, on behalf of Biden, has shown that they have the ability to hold the illegal immigrants, to stop the illegal immigrants from coming, right? And Trump basically came out and threatened Mexico with tariffs because he's basically saying, listen, you better keep doing that, right? You better keep doing exactly what you was doing for Biden to help him win the election, which failed, right? Because that's why they were doing it. Biden said, hey, listen, can you hold the illegals until after the election, right? That's what Biden did. He negotiated that agreement with Mexico, and that's why a lot of them, again, they haven't been coming to the border the same way they were before, is because Biden had a temporary agreement. Trump wants them to continue to do that. He said, no, you got to continue to do that, right? Just because Democrats lost this election, that doesn't mean that you can now just allow the migrants to pass through your country. No, you're not doing that, okay? So Trump preemptively is coming out here and basically telling Mexico, you better continue to do what you was doing for Biden, right? That nothing's changing just because the Democrats lost the election. So that's the whole point. And a lot of people, again, they're just missing stuff, okay? Because they're ignorant about how politics works. They're trying to say, well, Mexico was already doing that. Trump's tariff threat didn't work. It didn't work. And it's like, no, you're an idiot. You don't understand exactly what's happening. Again, he is getting ahead of the problem before it actually becomes a problem. He's letting Mexico's new president know, I'm not playing around with you. You got to do the exact same thing that you were doing when Biden was in office. Don't play with me, right? So it's really about fixing a problem before it becomes a problem. And that's just completely going over a lot of people's heads in the mainstream liberal media because they don't actually really understand how anything works.
And you were down on the southern border with Governor Abbott in Eagle Pass, witnessing it again for yourself, but firsthand this particular week. You've got some mayors across the country who are saying, we're not going to work with you. As a matter of fact, Tom, we're going to make it as hard as possible for you to do your job and carry out these deportations. I know you've said that you'll put them in jail if you have to, but ultimately you hope it doesn't get to that. How does this play out?
Well, look, here's what they need to understand, right? They don't want ICE, roaming through their neighborhoods and doing this, what they call mass sweep and all this other stuff. Well, give me access to the jail. We want access to your jails. But the sanctuary cities have locked us out of the jails, and law enforcement isn't allowed to work with us. Give me access to the bad guy that you locked in a jail cell, because you obviously locked him in a jail cell because he's a public safety threat. That's the person we want to talk to. And when we do that, it's safe. It's safe for the officer. It's safe for the alien himself. But when you knowingly release them back in the community, that means I got to put officers in your community, which is a big danger to officers because now they're working on the bad guy's turf. We have access to who knows what weapons. It puts the community at greater risk of crime and violence. It puts the officer at risk, their safety at risk. It puts the alien safety at risk. So give me access to the jail, because if you don't, that means we got to go in the community to find this person. And when we find him, he's probably with others, and those others are going to come with us too. So if you want to limit ISIS access to communities, give me access to the jail. It's not only a safety issue, it's a common sense issue.
How do you round up the gangs also, Tom? Because there were some recent arrests here in New York City, Tren de Aragua. Ultimately, this is a problem that's not just at the southern border. It's spread its tentacles pretty much everywhere. And you have said you want to get the terrorists, you want to get the criminals, and you want to get them out first.
Exactly. President Trump's been very clear. Out of the gate, we're concentrating on public safety threats and national security threats. And again, I can't figure out why any elected official, mayor or governor, doesn't want public safety threats out of their community. If they don't want to do it, we're going to do it. But look, Tren de Aragua, they're on notice. Their days of committing crimes against U.S. citizens in this country are coming to an end. We're going to hunt them down. We're going to arrest them. We're going to deport them. And by doing that, we have certain law enforcement sensitive systems. I can't explain it on this network, of course, but we have ways to find them. We're going to arrest them and lock them up, because even if they're here and have some sort of parole standing, or they're here in some sort of temporary allowance from the Biden administration, there are conditions for release. And being a criminal violates those conditions for release. So we're going to lock them up and detain them until they see a judge. So that's the plan right now.
What do you make of the trip?
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. I love Tom Homan, man. I really do. I think he's one of my favorite picks from the Trump administration to be a part of what he's doing. We need people like that. And the rhetoric matters. It really does. Okay? It really does, because rhetoric essentially affects how people act. Okay? If people know that the people in charge are not playing around and that they're going to enforce the laws, then you're going to have less people try to come into the country, right? We already have some illegal immigrants deporting themselves. Okay? Allegedly, they're like, hey, you know what? That Tom Homan guy, he's not playing around. Let me just go ahead and deport myself. Right? I'd rather deport myself than to have them deport me. And that's the whole point, right? So these mayors, these governors, they can keep virtue signaling all they want, but I ultimately think a lot of them are going to fold. Okay, you already seeing some of them come out and fold. Like, for example, they were out here talking about how they're going to use local law enforcement, the police, against federal agents and stuff like that. They folded on that. Now Kathy Hochul's basically walking back her claim that she wasn't going to work with the Trump administration. She's now saying that, okay, well, I'll work with the Trump administration to deport the criminals, right? But, you know, hey, they what they really want is that they want the illegals to be able to work, right? They want the work authorization permits. They want the funding. And I'm hoping that the Trump administration doesn't give it to them, right? I hope that the Trump administration uses a strategy of choking these liberal cities, these sanctuary cities, financially by saying, okay, well, we're going to withhold federal funds, and we're not going to grant you work authorization permits. Therefore, you have to continue to take care of these illegal immigrants on your local taxpayer dime, and that's going to bankrupt a lot of these cities, right? It really is, right? It's going to make it very hard for them to operate financially, and they're going to have to cooperate. They're going to have to, okay? So we'll see what happens. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.